Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nubraids, and in today's video we're going to address one of the oldest controversies in Raid Shadow Legends, the question of what counts as free to play. And by answering this, we're going to address a few different examples here, such as are fusions free to play? Is Carnage the Anarch free to play? Are high stats free to play? Is Boozor, one of my clanmates and friends, is he free to play? That was one big controversy last year. I don't think I ever mentioned anything about it, but I'll give you the answer here today. You're welcome. I'm very much reminded of this by Faction Wars Hard at the moment and what makes a free-to-play team. And in particular, if I look at the highest stages, I was actually talking about this in my Faction Wars Hard video today. But for example, the highest speed enemies you'll run into, and bearing in mind they have a 25% speed aura as well, but they've got 319 speed base, R base, Stonethorn, Hierophant Lazaria shows up at that as well. Mikage's in there, but not as fast, etc. The bosses, by the way, for example, the Tainted Protector, the blue boss, he's not the worst boss, but he's 325 speed. That's the speed for the end of Faction Wars Hard. Can you beat that free to play? Is it even a free-to-play challenge, or is it impossible? I mean, the answer is obviously going to be yes, of course you can, but we'll break down why it is free-to-play in this video. And the key mistake a lot of commenters I see make when they're trying to define free-to-play, a big confusion that drives it apart. So first of all, let's just define in general. Actually, no, before, let me show you as well the comments. There's a great comment which inspired this video as well. This is going back quite a bit. This is going back 3 years ago. I put out a video. This sort of comments have bothered me for years, guys. Here's the proof. 3 years ago, probably almost 4 years ago at this point. But Doom Tower Hard, beat it easily, is free to play. And actually, again, I'm thinking of this because of Faction Wars Hard, because it's really the same stuff, which is you have to get good speed on your champions, really stack a lot of crowd control, and there you go, you beat it. And it really is the same sort of thing for Faction Wars Hard. Obviously, the bosses, and indeed the Doom Tower bosses, have different strategies, but for beating the waves and the Faction Wars Hard waves as well, it really is the same sort of stuff. It really is. But I liked this comment here. Very nice comment. If we zoom in so you can see it some more, from Jason saying, "You've got the best video showcase." This has been a long time ago. Oh man, I don't get comments like this anymore. My channel sucks now. We just talk about news, nub. You suck. They're the comments I get these days. "You've got the best video showcasing free-to-play, low-spender, account-speeding, endgame content." The reason I don't do this anymore is, again, probably more so because of the conception at the moment, which we'll see when we get there. I'll talk more of that. But show everyone that these levels are achievable by everyone. So glad I found you and subscribed. Thanks for the great content. Keep up the great work. Then we've got Kyle comes in. He says, "Are you on crack? 4 out of 5 champions were hitting 245 speed minimum, and with really high defenses and some really high accuracy. Probably they're about 300, 350. How is this anyway a reflection of a free-to-play account?" That got far more upvotes. And then it goes on some more. This guy says, "Well, listen, I'm just a low spender. I've spent $20 in the past year." Ooh. And then Kyle replies, spelled "you're" wrong as well. "You're a low spender, so you've no idea what a free-to-play account is. So stop slapping your fingers off your keyboard or screen and take another hit of that pipe you be smoking." So we can see here clearly Kyle's got two different problems. Problem number one is that he's not built enough speed on his champions. And then problem number two is he's a massive asshole. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's been 3 years. Maybe he's improved on those things. Who knows? We just don't know, do we? But yeah, that's the Kyle. That's this is the content. This is the shit you've got to read. That's the bullshit you got to read every day as a YouTuber. Like, honestly, some people are just miserable and want to take out on others. Anyway, let's go into this. What contributes to a strong account? In my view, there are 4 major things. There are probably more, right? But 4 broad things that make an account in Raid Shadow Legends strong. And they are, in order of potential impact, money, skill, time, and luck. I think that skill and time are pretty comparable. So let's go over them. Money is number 1, no question. If you have enough money, and again, it costs, we're talking like millions, right? If you want to get every champion in the game and the best gear in the game, you can get it. Again, it costs millions to get everything, but you can. And not only that, the reason that money is, without question, number 1 is you with money you can also purchase skill, time, and obviously luck becomes irrelevant with enough money. But you can purchase skill and time. You can literally pay someone else that's better than you at the game to play your account for you, and that is what many of the strongest accounts in the game do. So money trumps everything. And again, less unrealistically, like less looking at the extreme examples. I mean, I still like, for example, you'll see it, or if you watch other streamers as well, you'll see like live arena streams where you're fighting against very skillful players that've been playing for a long time and people that have spent money as well. Usually accounts will have some combination of all of these, and then you'll occasionally see like a really low level account. It's up there with those level of accounts because of money. It's something that Plarium has done with Prism events in particular. Yeah, with primal shards, etc., soul stones, and everything like that. They've really increased the impact that money has in the game, or rather, they've increased the amount of money that you can spend in the game drastically compared to when the game first came out. So that, yeah, if you come in as a brand new player, like if you start a new account right now, but you invest, $100,000 into it, you could probably outpace somebody, a very skillful player who's been playing for years. You could probably outpace them pretty quick. It's not going to take you a crazy amount of time, like a few months, and you'll probably get there. Now, skill and time, I think these are both a huge thing. Time, just the longer you play the game, you're just getting more energy. You're grinding more dungeons. You're getting more gear. You're getting more silver. You're going to be completing fusions. You're going to just be pulling champions over time. You get everything in this game just from time. So time is absolutely massive. Obviously, the longer an account has been around and the more time that's put into it, generally speaking, the stronger that account is, plain and simple. And by the way, that's part of why it's part of this difference of saying, oh, wow, you had this great free-to-play showcases beating endgame content back then. It's really difficult for me to do anything like that nowadays because I play this game a lot every day for the last 3 years. So it's really difficult to make content that's relevant to like a new player. Actually, very hard. It's very hard. And yeah. So anyway, that's a whole other thing. Skill is also really important. This is a really skill-intensive game. Like, number one, the game knowledge. Just what does every champion do? What do all the gear sets do? What are all the buffs? What are all the debuffs? What do all the relics do? All of that. How do you build champions? How do you build teams? What do all the bosses do? How does speed even work? How does accuracy work? All that stuff. There's so much just raw knowledge in this game. And then how do you put stuff together? How do you build arena teams? How do you build everything? There's a huge amount of skill that goes into this game. Resource management. How do I do fusions? How do I save resources? How do I save energy? Where do I spend my energy? What gear do I level up? What champions do I level up? Blah, blah, blah. This game is crazy high on the skill. It's like one of the most hardcore games out there. So skill actually is a really big impact. And then luck. Luck is also something that affects it as well. More so in like the short term. So like, let's say with the Hell Hades free-to-play challenge this year, for example, a couple of the guys got like Harima day one. And then some people didn't get a legendary for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, obviously, if you get Harima day one on a new account, you get lucky with your shard pull and you pull a top tier champion. That lets you get much further. It makes your account much stronger, much faster. Now, over the long term, luck obviously evens out, but it makes a big difference. I mean, let's say, for example, with primal shards, one player might pull 10 primal shards and get 2 mythicals, just get super lucky, and they pull out like a Star Sage Galathir and a Siegfried. They're going to be way better off than obviously the person who pulls 200 primals before they get their first mythical, and then it pops out and it's like a Frolny, and they're like, okay, well, I mean, he's good, but not really a game changer, whereas, the other person got lucky and got 2. Again, it evens out over time, but luck is important as well, and it does affect things. So those are, I think, the 4 big things that really affect how strong an account is. So, what is free-to-play then? So, this is how I am defining free-to-play. And just to be clear, I've made this up, but I think it's pretty accurate. I think something is free-to-play or free-to-play friendly if it relies on skill and or time alone. So, if you can do something in the game with just skill and time investment, then yeah, I think it's free-to-play friendly. I think it's not free-to-play friendly. Oh, and I'll give examples. If it relies on money or if it relies on luck. And I'm sure that with some of the examples, people will say, I know it does depend on luck, but we'll break it down. Now, hang on, let's make sure this all fits. So the common misconception when it comes to free to play, the biggest misconception is people get confused about time, right? And they confuse early game with free to play. So again, you'll see some of these examples are pretty obvious, but yeah, here's an example: building a champion with 300 speed. They say get 300 speed is not free to play. The truth of the matter is that getting 300 speed is easily achievable free to play. It just requires time. You just need to play the game for long enough, mid game at least, probably a few months of the game. Like, you're not going to be hitting 300 speed in month one. Probably impossible, you know, but once you get far enough into the game, it absolutely is. And Raid is very much designed. It's not a game that you're going to, it's not like a Call of Duty campaign. You're completing the game in whatever, 5 hours. I don't know how long they are, 5-10 hours, something. It's not even a Skyrim where you're going to complete the game in like 300 hours. Now, this is a game that's really designed to be played for. I mean, realistically, I think they probably want a typically engaged player to be playing for about 3 hours a day for years. So it's a lot, right? You're looking at, I'd say, about 1,000 hours per year. And for people who play multiple years, you're looking at not 300 hours, but probably about 3,000 to be reaching endgame, I would think. That's the context. And I think that's really the broad confusion that is there for a lot of stuff is people say it's not free to play because it's early game. To give a sarcastic example, this guy Kyle saying, 245 speed minimum, it's not free to play. Looking back at it now, 3 years later, he's right. Because we know now, 3 years later on, that no free-to-play player has ever beaten Doom Tower hard. It's never happened. It's not free to play. It's not possible. And indeed, free-to-play players, they're struggling still to this day. None of them have ever reached over 250 speed. Certainly not on multiple champions. We've got a few free-to-play guys. They've been playing the game for hours and putting tons of research in every day for the 3 years since Kyle left his comment. And some of those top free-to-play players, they've managed about 230 speed, They're getting there, but they're still a way off the 250. No, obviously I'm being sarcastic and it's stupid. But yeah, people have easily got past that. It's just a matter of time. And perhaps, we'll go into it. So some examples then. Are fusions free to play? And the answer is yes. Commonly, I see the thing that fusions are not free to play. But yes, fusions are free to play. You can complete fusions with skill and time alone. Again, if you look at like the free to play challenge from a few different years or just people creating free to play accounts, it's, with enough skill and time. So this is people playing, usually it's content creators or people who've been, if they're making videos on it, they're content creators. But they're usually content creators that know almost everything about the game and they're going to play their accounts for like 8 hours a day. They're completing fusions within 1 or 2 months of start. Like the first fusion that comes up on a new account, sometimes they're completing it there. So yeah, you can absolutely complete it with zero money, free-to-play accounts, and no luck required either. You can absolutely complete them with skill or time. I'd say for a more typical player, like an actual new player, it might take you a few months before you're able to start completing fusions. Like they're very intimidating for a new player, but yes, they are absolutely completable, free to play. And when you play the game for long enough, indeed, they become, I would say, very easy. Now, here's an interesting question, though. At what point does a fusion or login champion not qualify anymore for free-to-play teams? So certainly, people debate fusions. Hopefully, people would not debate whether a login champion is free to play. I mean, that you just need to log in for a few days and you get them. Again, it requires time for sure, but certainly there is no skill required for login champion. I guess to be fair, there are some manual skills. You need to be able to unlock your phone and open the game and click accept and whatnot. So there's a small bit of skill, but nothing substantial. Here again, some examples, because this is an interesting question, and this one actually is more debated. I think our fusions free to play is a bit stupid, but at what point does a fusion or login not qualify for free to play teams or guides? That's more interesting. So, for example, if I build, let's say we know there's a new event dungeon. If I go free to play team for the new event dungeon and I put in Udex Artor at the time I'm recording this video, I think no problem. I think nobody will bat an eye. People will be like, that's great. No, fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you for that free-to-play team. I say it's some epics and Udex Artor. No one's going to mind because he has just finished up his free login thing, right? However, if I build a free-to-play team with Ninja, who is an older login champion that did rerun him like last year or the year before or something, it would be a pretty big problem. Like, I go, free-to-play, accessible team for the new event dungeon. Use your Ninja, guys. Am I going to get a lot of angry comments? You bet I'm going to get a lot of angry comments. So what's the difference there? They're both free login champions. The difference is that Ninja was a long time ago. So clearly, at some point, after enough time has elapsed, a fusion or a login champion do not qualify as being good for free-to-play teams. I'll put in guides to make this even more clear with multiple E's. At some point, that happens. What is that point? Now, my opinion, what I think, is that about 6 months to 1 year is about right. But it depends on the difficulty of the content. So, for example, if I was to make a normal dragon free-to-play team for stage 20, and I was to say, use your Armans the Magnificent, he was a fusion a bit over a year ago, I think that absolutely does not make sense, right? Why? Because the sort of player that's going to be looking for a stage 20 dragon guide have only been playing the game for a few months. They're not going to be playing the game for that long. You'd be past it by that point. So there's no way that they would have been around for the Arman's fusion. On the other hand, if I say something that's brand new, the Barbarians faction crypt, if I say, well, Barbarian hard faction wars, well, for hard faction wars Barbarians, Arman's the Magnificent is a great free-to-play option. That actually does make sense. Why? Because any player that has unlocked the Barbarian faction crypt, hard mode, has to have cleared everything on normal, which realistically means that they probably were playing when Arman's came out. It's very unlikely that a player has, or at least very few players will have unlocked hard faction wars without having been around for the Arman's fusion. So that one, again, because that's about the outer limit of it. But yeah, that's what I think. I think, 1 year is probably about the outer limit, and then fusions that are older than that, so like a Rotus, for example, is not really a free-to-play team option anymore, though obviously he was available free-to-play back in the day, but that was before even I was playing. So yeah, I think about 6 months to 1 year, depending on the content, arguably even less than that, but I think it's fair enough. I don't think if you make a Udex Artor free-to-play team for a thing in 6 months, it's going to matter. I think if you make free-to-play team for whatever 2 years from now and you put in Udex Artor, people would reasonably say, he's not free-to-play. Though, of course, you could also say in the guide, like, well, could just use Arbiter. She's almost the same champion, but better. So you could just replace your Udex Artor with Arbiter, and it's still fine for a free-to-play guide. I think that's fine. Now, in my experience, what actually happens is... Well, I think this is the most fair thing overall. In my experience, what actually happens when people get outraged about whether something is free to play or not, it's entirely dependent on whether the actual individual leaving the comment has the champion or not. So it doesn't matter how long a champion has been out, if they were free before, what the experience of other players is. It entirely comes down to, do I, the commenter, have the champion or not? So if I have Udex Artor, then a free-to-play guide with Udex Artor is fine. If I don't have Udex Artor, then it's an outrage. And that's basically what it comes down to. Yes, I've got a low opinion of angry commenters. A couple more examples. Is Carnage free-to-play? Here's a bold one. Carnage. Ooh, Carnage, one of the... he's the reward for basically clearing Hard Cursed City, isn't it? Very tough to get. Or I can't even remember how you get Carnage anymore. I think you collect him from fragments from the chest. So you need to be clearing at least some of Cursed City Hard, and the more of Cursed City Hard you clear, the faster you'll get him. Particularly being able to clear Amius Hard gives you a big chunk. Yeah, like Awaken stages, but beating Amius gives you a big chunk of these candles. So yeah, you can collect him. I think it takes about 6 months if you do everything, but that's extremely difficult. It'd take much longer than that. But again, we come back to the thing, is he free to play? Yes, Carnage is a free-to-play champion. He can be earned with skill and time alone. You don't need any money or luck. They certainly help. Of course, they help you do it much faster, but you can absolutely do it without them. It just takes quite a long time. Is Carnage an early game champion? Obviously not. Is he a mid-game champion? Nope. Late game? Maybe. I don't know. More so an end game champion. Let's be real. Carnage is pretty late to end game. But is he free to play? Absolutely. It goes back to that common misconception that people can confuse time, basically the age of an account, with whether or not something is free to play. Carnage is a perfect example. And in fact, one of my favorite, let's bring him up. One of my favorite free-to-play channels, I'll just call him out. He's got this from 8 days ago. Let's give it a thumbs up. But Consistency, free-to-play player, been doing a lot of this stuff for ages. Totally free-to-play, never spent a cent on the game, never received any perks. He's had crazy luck with mythicals. But here's his Carnage the Anarch showcase. He has Carnage, free-to-play. He's got him. So there you go. He's proven it. And dear Lord, he's got 266 speed. The absolute madman. He's done it. He has beaten the impossible hurdle of free-to-play speed. He must be lying. He must be spending money. There's no other explanation. He can't be free-to-play. But yeah, is Star Sage... Here's another one. Interesting enough, Cads does have Star Sage Galathir. He's been very lucky. He's got 2 Seek Fronts as well, which is crazy. But is Star Sage Galathir free to play? The answer is no. He can't be earned with skill or time alone. He does require money or luck. So Cad's got him by being lucky with Primal Shards. But the reality is, you could come in on a free-to-play account. Let me put it to you this way. If I said, okay, here is a free-to-play account. You have 4 years to play this account. Fairly fair for getting to endgame. You've got 4 years. You have to get the specific champion. If you don't, I will get a shotgun and I will shoot you. And you will be dead. Okay? You can choose Carnage the Anarch or Star Sage Galathir. Which one would you like? Obviously, you should pick Carnage the Anarch, because in 4 years, you should definitely be able to get him, especially with, power creep in the game and whatnot. Picking Star Sage Galathir, really bad idea. You need to get very lucky. Again, remember, you can't spend any money. So I don't know if I qualify that, but you have to be free to play. You just have to get lucky to pull him from a Primal Shard. It's very unlikely. You probably get, I'd say, free to play. The typical luck, you probably pull 1 mythical maybe every 1.5 to 2 years. It depends on luck. Luck has a huge impact, but you're very much reliant on it. So obviously, 10 times out of 10, you should choose Carnage the Anarch, because you could definitely earn him. You just need to spend enough time and research the game and get good. Choosing Star Sage Galathir is a really bad idea, because I don't know what the chances to actually get him within that. Someone could actually work it out for us. If you'd have 4 years, so let's say you get 2 to 3 mythicals, and obviously they'll be adding more as well. What are your chances to get Galathir? I guess you could wait, just hold on to all your primals over the 4 years, because they will definitely add like progressive chance events for mythicals during that time, and they might. Quite likely they'll run one for Star Sage Galathir at some time in the next 4 years. So that would help you, but it's still quite a risk, let's be honest. Are high stats free-to-play friendly? Yes, I mean, we've talked about that already. It just takes time. Now, here we go. A slightly different question, I think. What makes a player free-to-play? I think simply enough, it's simple. The definition is simple. A player is free to play if they haven't spent any money on the game. Now, I think most people agree that sometimes you do see, like, I'm a free-to-play player. I only buy the monthly gem pack. It doesn't really count. I'm free to play. No, you're not. A free-to-play player is someone who hasn't spent any money. I think it's that simple. Free. Haven't spent anything. You haven't paid anything. It's free. Now, what would be interesting, and again, we'll come to this with the Boozor example, is you can get stuff without spending it yourself. But there's often, I think as well, a free-to-play player often gets mixed in with, spoilers there, often gets mixed in with identity concepts. It's kind of a baggage term. I'll move off CADs, because I don't want to insult, I'm not calling CADs out or anything like that. But I think, it's pretty common for free-to-play players to see it as like a challenge account, It's like a hard mode difficulty almost of a game. I'm playing this free-to-play, I'm a like, I think there's really countless examples. I think it's pretty obvious, really. A free-to-play cannot be a badge of honor for a lot of people. I think it means more than simply not having spent any money. It's often tied in with some sort of morality or ethics or value system as well. Again, some, not all, some people see free-to-play as being a bit of a moral high ground. Some people don't see it as a moral high ground. They're just like, I don't feel like spending money. I want to have a good challenge. I want to give, the most helpful advice to people who can't afford to spend money. There can be all sorts of positive and negative identity concepts mixed in with it. But I do think, when someone says, I'm a free-to-play player, often there's quite a bit of baggage and identity dragged into it. It's not the simple explanation. I think the Boozor debate highlighted that very well. Here's the thing. Is Boozor free-to-play? And the answer is yes. there was this debate because Boozor receives, in fact, all content creators receive perks. You get like free gems and energy and books and stuff. It depends on what tier of content creator you are, but like it's pretty substantial amount of stuff. But at the end of the day, is Boozor free to play? Yes. He has not spent any money. Now, content creator perks means his account is not fully reflective of a typical free to play. So because you're getting a bunch of energy, like you get about, you get like, I think 1,200, 1,000, I can't remember, 1,200, 1,300-ish gems. And I think about 1,500 energy every week as well. So you get a ton of energy. So completing like fusions and stuff, anything that requires energy is much easier. And you get a bunch of books as well, and chickens, so you can book and rank up champions. And usually, I mean, most of the time you're just ranking up weird champions for videos. Like you do invest it, and it doesn't make a massive difference. But it also means that it's not fully reflective of typical free to play. But is he free? He is technically free to play though. He hasn't spent any money, so he is still free to play. I think it'd also be interesting. It's like, you know, if you got a gift, if someone gave you a gift, a free gift of some stuff, or if you win a CC giveaway or something like that, you win some stuff, or you enter a competition, you do some artwork for Raid, and you get some free stuff. Are you still free to play? Yes, you are, because you have not spent any money. And that is the defining thing. That's the defining thing. So it really is that simple. And I think with Boozor as well, to clarify, he actually plays 2 accounts. So he does have one with CC perks, but he also plays another account, which is no CC perks. So yeah, he has more than enough qualifications to know what he's talking about. But I do think at the same time, the CC perks do make a pretty substantial impact, and kind of like, you know, I think some of it comes down to phrasing as well. Like for me, I would classify myself as a low spend, maybe nowadays more as a mid spend. Historically, I've been more of a low spend player. For a long time, I just bought fairly often a daily gem pack, and then often enough, the Forge Pass. And that would be all I spent. I think daily gem pack and some Forge Passes, that for me sort of falls into this is all again up for debate, of course. That to me falls into a low spend category. You know, 15 to 20 bucks a month, maybe, kind of like a Netflix subscription or an MMO subscription. I think that sort of qualifies as low spend. For me now, I'd probably call myself mid spend, because I still spend that, but then I'll sometimes be dropping like 50, maybe even $100 on some events or videos. I think that definitely pushes it into the mid spend. So I call myself mid spend, but then again, even when I call myself low spend, it's like I still have a whale account. My account is still stronger than a typical low spend one would be, because I do get free stuff every week. So that has an impact. But still, again, yeah, it still comes down. But it's still technically low spend, because I'm not spending that much. And I'd say if Boozor, instead of calling it free to play, if he called it a no spend account, I think a no spend account and a free to play account are exactly the same definition. But it's interesting. I think with the wording, you say, well, he does get CC perks, but he's no spend. But it's just silly. I think it's really just identity concepts getting mixed up, which is what caused the controversy. And yeah, there's people taking stuff too seriously and just being dicks online. What's new? Hey, that's life. But there you go. There's sort of some that's sort of what I think about the whole free-to-play stuff. Broadly speaking, like I said, the most common thing is people mix up time spent in game. So people that have just played, like again, you could look at Cad's account and you say, is that a free-to-play account? The answer, of course, is yes. He's never spent a single cent on the game and never even received any other perks. I'm pretty sure maybe he won a giveaway like once. I don't know. Probably not. Most likely he's never won anything. And it's pure free-to-play, zero question, zero spend. But a lot of people look and say, I even see in the comments, a lot of people say it's not free-to-play. But it is. And we saw the same sort of thing with Eherbad and stuff as well. Yeah, anyway, there we go. That's my thoughts on it. Free to play tends to be very much a baggage term, lots of identity politics mixed into it. God forbid. That's the same thing with everything in life, but simple enough. Yep, if you can do it with just skill and time, it is free to play friendly. Though, of course, again, you have to understand that, let's say, completing a fusion is sort of a early mid-game free to play can do it. Collecting Carnage the Anarch, not early mid-game. That's going to be late to end game. But yeah, they all fall under a free-to-play thing, which is pretty much you just don't spend money. Or, of course, just getting super lucky, Like Galathir is not. You could pull Galathir on your first primal, but you wouldn't expect it. That's where the luck comes in. There you go. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.